Hello, everybody. My name is Ultima1125, and welcome back to Unjust Gospel. So, the plan is this is going to be the last part for this one because I have many other stories that I want to work with, and trust me, the plans for those ones is definitely going to take way more time. And in my case, I really do want to get started on a new story. If you guys want me to come back into making more of Unjust Gospel, let me know down in the comments below. I'm sorry, I kind of rushing through this whole intro. Um, but yeah, this is going to be the last part. If you and in my head, I do kind of want to go back and redo the entire thing. The little thing about the story, I made the story since I was in high school, so this is the reason why I chose this story to be the first story that I wanted to record and upload onto YouTube. So I hope you guys all enjoy that. And yeah, so pretty much without further ado, let's go. A little bit of a heads up. So in the last part, I did say that the shade, the person who was helping the main character Josh in the last part, turns out to be the other version of him from another reality. So so even though both of them are the same person, he is still going to be considered Josh, not Josh, Shade. He is still going to be considered Shade. So just for confusion's sake, his name is still gonna be named Shade and not Josh, and Josh will still be the main character. So with that confusion out of the way, I'm just saying this right now because for this part, his voice module has been disabled in this whole story part. So, all right. Let's go. This is part 12 of Unjust Gospel. Surrounded by every character imaginable, I struggle to think of a way for me to get out. As I planned a way out, I see Shade walking towards me. So you were just planning on killing me from the start? I shouted as I made sure no one was getting closer to me. Initially, Shade replies, but it's currently being delayed by your stubbornness. Well, you could have just left me to die back then, I said, noticing a small opening for me to escape through. It's complicated. But if you want a summary, or should I say, I needed to keep you alive. I needed you as an anchor so the power wouldn't return back to the person you know as Catherine. And after I made sure you wouldn't lose the power, I needed time to link myself with you. And to be honest, I was worried when you said that you needed some time back at your home reality. If you didn't return then, I wouldn't know when another version of me would be chosen. But you did return, and I was able to link myself to you and begin stealing your powers. But the only difference in the plan is that the original plan was to do it secretly. But since you were about to leave us, we have no choice but to do it this way, Shade explains. Feeling some sweat falling down my face, I quickly booked it towards the small opening I saw, blasting the people around it. Before my flames reach over to them, Shade intercepts it, draining the flame within himself. Stopping, I jumped back in panic only to see Shade already caught up to me, seeing his eyes giving me the similar look that every other enemies I fought before gave me. The look of death. Not wanting to let Shade get another chance to steal more of the power, I started to fight back, throwing punches and kicks at Shade, hoping that one of them would make him fall back. But every punch and kicks I send out, he counters, striking every blow, feeling him hitting vital parts of my body. Quickly understanding the difference in skills, I tried to create some distance, only to have Shade grab onto my arm. Pulling me back, he forced me straight into his fist, feeling him putting his entire weight into it. Flying straight into the crowd, I stopped myself, sliding across for a moment, taking a deep breath. You can't win, I hear Shade calling out. Feeling my body recovering, I see the flames weaker than before. Yeah, I kind of figured that already. Then why are you fighting back? Shade replies, standing in front of me. 'Cause fuck you, that's why, I said, pushing the people behind me. I felt his disappointment towards me, as I figured only one thing I could do right now. I turned and ran with every strength I had without looking behind. Running in the void, I started wondering if there was a wall making me feel uneasy. Imagining Satan and God in my head, I see the flames forming a portal ahead of me. Just before I crossed through, I felt someone grabbing my shoulder, pulling me back and throwing me across the ground. You're such a coward, Shade says, closing the portal. Oh, I'm sorry. If running away from an opponent who has more skills than you is considered cowardly, then yeah, I'm a coward, I said, getting up. I'm not going to let you escape. Shade jumps towards me, reaching me in a second. Somehow matching his speed, I back away before feeling my feet stepping into nothing. Well, we'll see about that, I said, dropping through a hole in the ground. Falling through, I watch as Shade flies over me as I crash into some furniture. Seeing the portal close, I look over to see Satan and God staring at me.
Josh? You look more normal than before.
Satan comments, noticing the flames weaker.
Did the conversation with Shade not go so well?
God asks. Love to chat, but I already know you guys know the situation, I said, jumping onto my feet.
Fair, but we like to be interactive as much as possible. We don't often stay in a reality for a long time.
God says. Good to know, I said, catching my breath. Knowing that Shade was coming after me, I started thinking to myself of what I should do to resolve the problem at hand. As I thought to myself, Satan and God huddles around me, resting their hand over my shoulder, positioning like the sports team huddling up for a strategy.
So, what are you planning on doing?
Satan asked. I don't know, I replied, wishing I didn't talk to Shade at all.
He's going to arrive soon.
God says. I know, I said, feeling rushed. Feeling the pressure, I started to panic a bit as nothing was coming to mind of what I should do. How did this all happen? I asked myself.
Are you asking us or yourself right now?
Satan mutters. Thinking for a while, I felt Shade slowly getting closer, understanding that my time to think was ending. Okay. First of all, I understand he is stealing the power away from me because I was acting as his anchor, I said, speaking anything that comes to mind.
Yeah, we know,
Satan replies. And that as long as I'm still alive, he will continue stealing the power away from me, I continued.
He is a very hard worker,
God says. And I don't know how much more experience he has compared to me.
Oh yeah, he has way more than you could ever imagine.
Satan interrupts. Can you guys help me to come up with an idea before I just give Shade the power? I ask.
Well, for starters, I would like to say he's almost like the complete opposite of you.
Satan says, pondering to himself.
Oh my, you're right. The other Josh is always planning ahead and is not willing to let anything bring him down.
God says.
And how he always trained himself to the point where he couldn't move anymore, so he could help others.
The more you talk about him, the more I'm wondering why you threw him away, I said, feeling like the younger siblings in their older sibling's shadow. Satan and God stares at each other as if the answer were obvious and looks back at me.
Well, it's because he would fight for others, and we considered that he would be too dangerous to keep the powers.
Satan answers. Unsure what he meant by his answer, I felt my time just about up. As I see Catherine hiding behind Satan, noticing Catherine, a spark of an idea came to mind, but felt unsure if it would work or not. As I pointed at Catherine and saying something to her, Shade crashes to the ground behind me, giving me a scare.
Okay, we'll be waiting for the perfect time to execute the plan.
Satan whispers into my ear, feeling the presence disappear. Wait, what? I said, looking back only to find the three leaving me alone. Looking back, I see Shade nodding his head in disappointment. Frantically looking around for Satan and God, I came to terms that they left me, as I wondered what he meant about the perfect time. Your move, Shade says, waiting for me. Okay, I reply, taking some breaths. Without a hint of movement, I dash towards Shade as I see him raiding something underneath his wing. Just before I reached him, I opened a portal in front of me. On the other side, I fell straight down as I looked around, wondering what happened to the ground. Checking my surroundings, I see cars hovering around me as they zip past me, hearing their horns blowing as they went by. Trying my best to dodge all the flying cars, I see Shade jumping through the portal, looking around for a moment before finding me. Where did you go, Satan? I mumbled to myself, grabbing onto a passing car. Feeling a bit of my arm ripping apart and healing for a moment, I held on as tight as I could, seeing everything as a blur. Thinking I got away, I prepared to open another portal before feeling the car being dragged down. Catching myself, I see small bits of the black flames forming around the car. Peeking around, I find Shade holding onto the same car with the black flames shaped like a claw. Shit, I said as I jumped off the car, praying I would land on another. Crashing into another car, I peeked inside to see a family panicking from hitting someone. Waving at them, Shade lands in front of me as I held on from getting blown off. Is running all you can think of? Shade asked. Well, obviously, since finding you is way too one-sided, I shouted as I let go of the car and crashed into another car behind it. You give up too easily, I hear Shade as he jumps after me. Hitching a ride on another car, Shade quickly creates the claw again and grabs us in the air. In the same motion, he swings the car into a wall, destroying the building. Flying across the ground, I managed to open another portal before the car landed on top of me. Seeing the white void again, I looked around trying to find something to land on. Checking behind me, Shade creates his own portal and jumps through, finding me immediately. Satan! I yelled as I opened another portal to fall through. Shade, using his wings, flew through my portal, catching up to me and grabbing hold onto me. With a quick glance, Shade punches my guts, feeling my internal organs crushed under pressure. Shade then throws me away, but in the same motion, moving so fast for me to keep up, Shade maneuvers around me, always landing a hit on me as he flies by. Struggling to keep myself conscious, I felt my humanity returning, feeling my fear and anxiety emerging. Spotting Shade building something in his hand with the black flames, I panic and throw some black flames at him, letting him absorb them. Where the fuck did you go, Satan? I yelled as I crashed into the ground. What's wrong? I thought you didn't want this power. Shade calls out, gently landing next to me. Yeah, I didn't. But, I said, jumping out of the hole. Fuck it! Shade shoots what he was building in his hand, revealing a blade shaped with flames. Unintentionally, I blocked the sword with the wings, blinding myself again, letting Shade throw another clean hit on me. You're too naive, Shade says. Fuck! I said, stopping myself. Wiping off dirt and blood, I lose focus as I realized we were in what looked like a wilderness. Trying to figure out where we ended up, Shade appears, giving me no time to remove myself, and pins me down to the ground. You know distraction can lead to death, Shade says as I felt my arm breaking and healing continuously. First-hand experience. Thanks for that. I screamed, trying to keep my fears and anxiety in check. We hear a roar in the distance, and we both looked over as we see a T-Rex rushing towards us with a man riding on its back. Shade jumps out of the way before the Rex got over us, leaving me to be crushed underneath it. You seem to not have a fear of death. Could it be because you still have the powers? Shade notes out. Ugh, maybe. But if you died as many times as possible, I would have. Maybe. But if you really think about it, if you died as many times as I have with it, you probably want death more than anything. I replied, catching my breath. Shade fell silent as I struggled to get back on my feet. You said to me that you wanted to find an answer. That you don't know what you want to do even though what you should be doing is obvious. Said that you will do whatever you can do, Shade says. Yep, that's what I said. And? I respond, limping away. To me, those just sounds like excuses. You don't really know what you are doing, and you don't care about anything other than yourself. You're a selfish person who will only get himself involved unless someone else does it for you, Shade says. Listening to Shade, I started wondering from what Satan said about Shade causing damage. Still unable to figure out what he meant, I started to run as fast as I could, only to bump into Shade in front of me. Shade, already waiting for me, throws a flurry of techniques at me as I frantically try to move out of the way. Opening a portal behind my feet, I free fall backwards into the portal, quickly pushing myself back up on my feet on the other side. Shade jumps through the portal, and the moment I saw him jump through, I managed to punch him with everything I had, watching him fly into a wall. Catching my breath, I noticed the buildings around me. The structures of the buildings around me made me assume that it was a town, but also noticed of how run down all the buildings were, as if no one's been here for a long time. It's going to be my win, I hope you know, Shade says. Can't say it till it happens, I reply while waiting for my wounds to heal. The power is almost mine once again, and when that happens, Shade's flames grow stronger around him as my flames grow weaker. You'll fight Satan and God and free everyone in every reality from their rule, I said, exhaling heavily. Yeah. So if you want to hand me the rest, then you are free to do so, Shade says. Alright. Yeah. Let me think on that, I said, creating another portal. In an instant, Shade breaks the sound barrier, destroying the environment behind him, while creating a big dust storm behind him as he flew straight at me. Jumping through, I land into what seemed like a cathedral, but was torn down over time. Seeing the rubbles and the broken benches around me, Shade crashes through the wall and started destroying the pillars supporting the building. Shit! I mumbled, seeing the buildings crumbling. You said it. Shade quickly grasped my shoulder. The cathedral falls on top of us as I somehow manage to push Shade away from me before getting buried with him. After a while, I push the rubbles off of me as I feel my wounds staying and my flames being nothing more than embers around me. From the corner of my eyes, I see the black flames slithering through the gap of the rubbles, slowly forming a body. Knowing that you are the other me from another reality makes me upset, knowing how much of a nobody you are, Shade says, emerging from the flames. I get it, I said, trying to fight back the pain. I'm a worthless piece of shit who could barely keep a promise without feeling anxious. A worthless person who avoids trouble at any cost. Someone you would barely see doing anything interesting in his entire life because he can't think for himself. Also, the person who chooses to watch things unfold in front of him than do anything about it. But, even so, that doesn't mean that that worthless person is going to place his foot down once in his lifetime. Using any strength from the power I still held, I threw a big chunk of rubbles towards Shade, enough to block his vision, and ran straight at him. Shade, already knowing what I was planning, ran in front of me as the rubbles landed around us, throwing another strike at my chest. From all the attacks that Shade has done to me up to now, I felt my body move out of instincts, dodging his attack for the first time, allowing me to get one good hit on him. The power slowly returns back into me as Shade cuts my arm off and jumps away from me. Well, that wasn't expecting, but I'll take that result, I said, seeing the embers forming into small flames. Place his foot down, huh? I hear Shade mumbling. Yeah, that's right, I yelled out. Fine, Shade says. I didn't want to waste any more energy with you, but if you're going to be this stubborn, then so be it. The black flames starts forming around Shade as they took shapes of different weapons similar to when I fought Satan. Amazed to see the same technique appearing again, I quickly ducked behind cover as the weapons made of flames flew across the air. Seriously, when this is over, I am seriously going to smack Satan when I see him, I screamed, seeing my cover breaking apart. That's if you win this fight, Shade yells back. Up in the sky, I spot Shade diving straight down at me with no motive of stopping. Quickly running out of the way, Shade crashes into the ground, creating a shockwave that made me fly through a couple of walls before stopping. Trying to get my bearing, I see the rope made out of the black flames wrapping around me and lifts me up. Feeling my bones breaking and healing, I thought to myself, well, this brings back not so lovely memory. You still don't feel fear from dying, Shade yells out. I thought we already came through to an agreement, but I guess we didn't, I said under my breath. Shade grabs my face and drags me down to the ground, feeling the impact crushing my skull. Before he could heal back together, Shade began dragging me across the ground and up a wall, feeling remnants of glass piercing my head. Finally back up in the sky, Shade tosses me and jabs his hand into my chest as we fell back down to the ground, crashing through a tall building. Crashing into each floor, I feel the power within me almost completely drain. Reaching to the ground level, the entire building falls over us, but was blown away by Shade. Shade held me up high as I managed to see between his fingers his rage towards me. Why aren't you begging for your life? Shade asked. I struggled to free myself from Shade's grip. Well, I said this before, but if you died or felt death knocking at your door, the moment you obtained the power and had all your friend and family forgetting your existence, you would also be waiting for death to come and take you. I already did, Shade says. Good to know. But even if I do want death, the human body instinct is much more stronger than you'd think, I said. So, in the end, you will fight back until someone kills you then, Shade says. The moment I freed myself from Shade, Shade grabs me by the collar and slams me down to the ground, feeling my bones breaking. Coughing out blood, I held tight to my conscience as I felt Shade pinning me down once more. Do you have any last words before you die? Shade asked. I kept myself silent as I focused on Shade, seeing the flames getting drained. Just one, I said, feeling Shade holding onto my heart. How about telling me what you did that made them dismiss you? Sure, Shade says, pushing me to the ground. But sadly, the answer isn't a straight answer. Why not? I said, trying to wiggle out. It's because I don't know myself, Shade replies. Struggling, I see Shade remembering his past of his time with Satan and God. I gave up everything to control this power. I trained every day since our meeting to meet his expectation. I worked hard so I can protect everyone with this power. But apparently to them, I wasn't the right person to have this power. Told me some bullshit reason, saying that I would not be too much of a danger to keep this power. That I wasn't the right person to watch over the realities. And like any other person, I raged. Went out of control. But can you blame them? Someone who gave up their entire existence to only have it thrown away, all their hard work to be just crumbled up and tossed aside like trash. And to add to that, they erased my home, my reality. Unable to free myself, something clicked in my head of both God and Satan's choosing. I get it now, I said. Get what? Shade asked. I grabbed onto Shade's wrist, looking straight into his eye, seeing a bit of sorrow forming in his rage. You have a good heart. You want to protect everyone from their own deaths. You are the type who would protect others before yourself. But it's because of that. It's because of that you want to protect others that Satan sees you unworthy. I shouted. He knows nothing other than when he wants to erase in reality. Shade yells back, crushing my heart in his grip. I started laughing to myself as I see my visions fading. Don't worry, man. I don't know his thought process either. Nor do I want to know. But let me tell you something. Feeling everything going silent around me, I look at Shade as best as I could before I lost sight of him. You should have asked them why they did all this, I said as the embers of the flames vanish. Just as my eyes close, in the corner of my eye, I see a figure, assuming that it was Satan, giving someone an okay sign, as I suddenly feel a wave of energy rushing through me, waking me back up. Feeling the shock of life rushing into me, I shot back up while holding tight onto Shade's wrist. What? Shade says, surprised seeing me come back to life. From here on, it's all or nothing, I yelled as I felt the energy getting sucked up. What are you doing? Shade asked, feeling the flames burning my hand. Fuck if I know, I reply as a pair of pure white wings appear behind me. Seeing Shade's eyes open wide, I continue holding on as the continuation of me dying and coming back makes me slowly go insane. Are you an idiot? Shade says, holding onto my wrist. Maybe, but who gives a fuck? I reply, trying to keep my sanity in check. I hear Shade start to laugh as the energy I receive vanishes and my body's temperature quickly drops. All you did was give me more power, Shade says, pushing me to the ground. Debatably, I reply, finally feeling the release of death approaching. Shade floats up into the sky as he admires his gained power, testing it on his surroundings. The power to either create or erase, I hear Shade happily. With this, I can kill those two and ensure that every reality gets what they want. With a small glance, I see a small crack forming on Shade, slowly spreading throughout his body. Growing a small smile on my face, Shade notices the cracks building around him. What is this? I hear Shade's voice. What did you do? Falling asleep, I felt my mind drifting as everything went silent, finding myself wandering in a void, wondering to myself if everything was going to be okay. Suddenly seeing a bright light in the distance, I shrugged and started to float towards it. Feeling the warm light giving me comfort, knowing that I wouldn't be going through all that anymore, I felt relief. But as I got closer, I felt something holding my leg. Looking down, I see a black flame holding me and quickly pulls me back into the void. Taking in a breath of life, I jump onto my feet, looking around to see myself back. While looking around, I see Satan, God, and Catherine sitting on the ground staring. What happened? I ask.
You want the whole story or the summary?
Satan asks. Summary, I reply.
He dead.
You're sure? I said, looking around.
For sure. We watched him fall apart.
Satan says, pointing over where I was standing. Sighing in relief at last, I looked at Satan, wondering only one thing from him.
You okay?
God asked. Oh, I don't know. What do you think? I just came back from the dead. And almost didn't make it back. I said, feeling a chill from the experience.
But it all worked out alright in the end.
Satan says. Yeah, about that, I said, grabbing onto Satan.
You're not planning on punching me again, are you?
Satan asked. Oh, I don't know. What do you think? I reply, holding my hand up.
Hey. Come on. It wouldn't be a climactic fight if we just did it from the start.
Satan smiles. Kicking Satan in frustration, I look up into the sky as I wonder what I should be doing now.
Josh?
I hear Catherine. Even though it's all undone, there is still something I have to do, whether I am forced to do it or not, huh? I mumbled to myself.
What?
God asked, hearing me mumbling. It's nothing. I'm just gonna head on home and rest for a bit, I said, opening a portal. Just before I walked through, I felt another presence disappearing from the area as a bad omen started to fill the air. Sighing deeply, I knew what that meant for me and what's to come, feeling only two words to say at that moment. Fuck. Returning back inside the recording booth with present Josh, Frederick, PG, and Robert, the three friends stare at Josh as they wondered what happened next. Is that it? Frederick asked. Yeah. That was the start of my travel to find something, Josh replies. Not going to explain it all? Robert asked. Lots to ask. It's pretty obvious what I was going to be forcing myself to look into, whether sooner or later, Josh answers. So, what? You want us to believe that whatever that mysterious feeling you got was someone who may give you an answer to what you're looking for? Petrie asked. Don't know. That's what I'm looking for. But kinda wish that mysterious person waited till I rested at least a year, Josh says. So, Frederick looks over to the other two as they stare back at each other. Why are we here? The three ask. Josh smiles and opens a portal behind him. 'Cause I'm not planning to do this by myself. And that will be the end of part 12 on Unjust Gospel. Next year will be the start of a new story that I'll be working on with not just me, but with my friends. So I hope you guys all look forward to that. I hope you guys all enjoy that. Please please hit that like button. And also let me know what you guys think down in the comments below to see if I needed to improve it or if you guys want me to redo the entire thing in the future. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification if you guys want to know when I'm gonna upload my next video. And until then, I'll see you guys all when I see ya.